from. Toto was in the studio mixing our fourth album.
Which was called?
Toto 4.
Okay.
Creatively enough. Anyway, I wanted to stop by and visit my daughter, who was around 4 or 5 years old at the time. She had gotten home from school. I wanted to stop by and say hello to her at her mom's house before I went to the studio and met the guys. And my daughter Heather was very upset. She had had a real rough day at school. She had fallen off the slide, and a boy came up and hit her. And she was asked me why the boy came up and hit her, trying to figure out how to explain to a 5-year-old that, you know, he probably liked her in some way or just wanted to get her attention. And anyway, just the title Human Nature, kind of the thought of human nature came, trying to explain human nature to a kid, you know, when she says why, you know. And I went to the studio. The guys were, that night, they were in the booth mixing the song Africa. And I went out to the studio where the piano was, and one sitting.
Wow.
And then John Bettis came and rewrote the verse lyrics.
I see.
But the chorus and the chorus lyrics and all that, and pretty much the structure of the song came out. The first chords I wrote were...
Question. How
Sure.
did that song get to Michael Jackson?
I had been working on the Thriller album already. I'm doing synthesizer work on the album, so I'd already was in the studio working with Michael and Quincy. He'd been asking David Paich, the other keyboard player in Toto, for songs. David was known as a great songwriter, and he'd been asking him for a certain kind of song he was looking for on the album, and he would send an assistant over every day to pick up whatever grooves David was working on. And I had just written Human Nature and just finished the demo, and I had made a cassette, just a stereo mix with a cassette. David called down to me one day. I was living at his house at the time, and he said, Quincy's assistant's coming over to pick up those 2 grooves I was working on last night. Make a cassette for me, would you? And I said, sure. And I went down, and sure enough, we were completely out of cassettes. So I took that cassette that I just made of my song Human Nature, and I changed the labels. I fast-forwarded it, and I recorded David's stuff on the A side so that it would look like it was the first thing you would hear when you put in the cassette. My song was on the other side and of the tape, and I never thought Quincy would ever hear it, you know. So the story goes, according to Quincy, that he listened to David's 2 things, and he just happened to let the cassette player roll, keep going, and he was doing other things in his office. And in the old days, they used to have this thing called auto reverse. So when the cassette got to the end, it would start playing the other side, and that's when he heard Human